Hi, I'm Bee, and welcome to the Prism Void, where I talk about all things fantasy nonsense, and today's nonsense is webcomics. So I'm no stranger to webcomics. I was a homestuck back in the dark ages of the early 2010s. But nowadays I just mostly read them on webtoons. Since the Facebook and Instagram algorithm knows that I like webcomics, guess what it recommends to me? So here I am today, reading webcomics that Mark Zoidberg recommended to me. Honestly, I screen recorded all the ones that were advertised to me on Instagram, so here they are on a list. The first one is Beauty and the Beast, which I have seen all over the place, and honestly it doesn't look that good. The art style is not consistent, which makes me think that they have different artists either in it or they're like false advertising to me. Like, you know how mobile ads do it. So we're not off to a good start. Quite honestly, the plot seems a little bit creepy too. What is my cat doing? The second one is Under the Oak Tree, which is Under the Old Oak Tree a song, or am I just crazy? Aside from that, I've also been seeing this one a lot, and it looks like it might be a cute historical romance, but we'll have to wait and see. The description here says it's about two flawed humans falling in love, which sounds cute, sounds wholesome. Kill the Villainess is next. This one gives me like really cute shoujo vibes. I will say, however, the plot I've seen a lot where someone goes to sleep reading a book and they wake up as a character in that book, not necessarily villainous, though I've seen the villainous. Oh, that was so cute. Did you get it? Yeah, fight that tail. Get it! Get it! What was I talking about? However, the art does look really cute. I love the pop of green in the villainess's eyes, and I'm looking forward to reading it. So, yay! This one I actually had to read the comments to find out the name of the comic, which is The Naughty Exorcist and His Captive Demon. I'm honestly not sure about this one. With the clothing style, you know, the kimonos, it seems like it might be like a historical fantasy taking place in like the Meiji era or the feudal era, which gives me Demon Slayer, Inuyasha vibes, but that's because that's the only two manga comics I've read with that sort of historical theme. But Japan does have a rich history, and I'm sure there's lots more stories to tell in that era. So we'll just have to wait and see. I really hope that it's just some cute, like, fluff romance story. I hope it is, and not weird. Just like a cute, like, little enemies to lovers story. You know, you can never get enough of those if they're written well. Sometimes they're not, but we'll just have to wait and see. The final one is the Tyrant's Only Perfumer, which, again, I like the art style, very shoujo, and it's also about waking up in a villain's body, which is weird. I wonder how similar it's going to be to Kill the Villainess. Maybe it'll just be two really unique stories. This one does seem to have a perfume theme, and it is really cute too. I'm such a sucker for shoujo. I hope I like it. So now that we have our 5 comics, let's get on to the ranking system. Came up with 5 categories that I'm going to use to rate these comics.
Number 1.
Plot. How original is the plot? Do I like it? Is it bad?
Number 2.
Characters. Do I like the characters? Are they just stupid characters made stupid for the sake of the plot, or is there rhyme and reason to what they're doing?
Number 3.
Setting. How original is the setting? Do I like the setting? Does the setting make sense for the story?
Number 4.
Pacing. Does it have good pacing? Is it too fast? Is it too slow? Is the pace in the story appropriate for what's going on? Is it going too fast and needs to slow down to explain more things?
Number 5.
and art. Because liking the art style of a comic can really keep you going if it's just so cute. And with that, I'll see you in a sec. And we're back in a beautiful set that I totally didn't set up so I could run a pretend D&D shop on TikTok. This is the aesthetic. Bonnet. I'm wearing a bonnet because one of the characters in the webtoons we're about to discuss wears one too, and it's so cute. So without further ado, let's talk about our first webcomic. So, Beauty and the Beasts was exactly as advertised. I don't know why I assumed the different art styles or bold lines on dialogue meant it was going to be fake like a mobile ad. Maybe I was just hopeful. I've read reverse harems before. One comes to mind, which is Orin High School Host Club, which I adore, meaning potentially someday there's another reverse harem that I could like. Not this one, but potentially another. So as far as the plot goes. Plot. Bai Qingqing falls into the world of beastmen. She's promptly surrounded by wolves and rescued by Parker, a leopard man. She's brought back to his village where she encounters more beastmen and the women of the village and gets the dynamics of the world. Women there have multiple husbands, and she has become Parker's female. That's what everyone refers to her as till we learned her name in Chapter 4. To disguise her beauty, she puts on freckles where the other people just instantly think she's suddenly ugly because she has freckles.
That's good. You're way too ugly now. I'm sure no one would want you. I have nothing to worry about now that you look like that. Let's go show you around our village. Thanks, Parker. You're so supportive.
Basically, every man who runs into Bai Qingqing thinks she's beautiful and falls in love with her. 4 seconds into a doctor's visit, when the doctor examines her feet, he's in love with her. Which is like, ew, think about feet on your own time. The other women are also considered ugly, to the point where Bai Qingqing feels bad for the men of this world.
They have high squinty noses and they're wearing crop tops, even though they have flabby bellies. It's no wonder Parker thinks I'm pretty. I feel sorry for the men in this world.
Way to body shame, Bai Qingqing.
So she's in the village, she's kidnapped by a snake. Snake falls in love with her. His name is Curtis. She's rescued by Myrrh, eventually confesses his love for her too. Another one falls in love with her, another guy falls in love with her. Anyways, reading this is not a good time. 0 out of 10. Next we have pacing. Oh, it's paced pretty well. You spend a decent amount of time on each, and I use this term loosely, plot point. So I guess it gets an 8 out of 10. Moving on, the characters.
There's no way I'm tasty with how skinny I am.
If you dare wash that off, I'll claw up your face and make sure you'll never be pretty again.
Hey Curtis, what happened to Rosa's kid?
I ate it.
She asks for rice, and then Parker gets mad and yells at her and spews something that would not be surprising to find on an incel forum.
It's all because you females like to eat rice that us males die of fatigue from working in the fields. I can get you whatever you want, but rice is impossible. I despise those entitled females.
He's a shouty man. Curtis is also a shouty man, particularly when it comes to interactions with Parker or other men who might be interested in Bai Qingqing. And despite the fact that this is a polyamorous world where it is the norm for women to have other partners, they're very possessive of her, even though it makes no sense, particularly in winter when Curtis has to hibernate and Parker is left to guard her but has to hunt, meaning they could use at least one other male partner, or I don't know, if perhaps if this web comic was better written, they could form alliance with another female, so like friendships, you could guard someone out of friendship. I mean, they... Moving on. Characters. 0 out of 10.
Settings, but that's also including world building.
So in the ad for this, I've seen a couple of them describe this as a matriarchy world. It is not. I mean, it advertises it as absolute horror. How dare it be a matriarchy world? But it's not. There's kings, there's like leaders, and you think, the woman that is paired with the king would be the queen, but no, she's just referred to as the so-and-so spouse. There's a power structure. Men in this world have stripes on their face. That ranks them. 1 stripe, you're level 1. No stripes, you're a level 0, or potentially a level 5. There's dinosaurs, for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on. As far as like where it is in time and space, I get that it's anachronistic, but there's no rhyme or reason. Like, it's not like creatures that would be found in the equivalent of the jungle here have a jungle biome to exist in. No, they're all kind of mushed together, like whatever idea the author thought about was farted into a soup, and then she stirred it, and then like just served you up the most disgusting soup in the form of a webcomic that I spent too long reading, to the point where I physically felt it affect my depression. Anyways, 0 out of 10.
Okay, let's talk about the art now.
You know what? I'm a little mad that at times I find this art actively beautiful. Sometimes. Most of the time, I feel like it's something out of a how to draw manga book. Like, look at this image of Bai Ching Ching and compare it to this cover of a how to draw manga guide or whatever. And I think the inconsistencies of it all make me a little angry. Like, Parker is a leopard. It is there. He's a leopard. It's not a mistranslation, even though I thought that might be the case, because when they draw him in animal form, he's a
cheetah. His spots are cheetah spots.
But when he's in human form, he's got like his little earsies on his head. My ears would go here, but the bonnet's in the way. When he is in his animal form, he does have leopard spots. So, I don't know. I guess 4 out of 10. That feels like a rating. And we have this. This is how you know I'm classy. You can't see it, but I put it on a little doily. Under the Oak Tree. So Under the Oak Tree is about Max, who her dad is not a nice man. That's not my opinion. That's fact. He marries Maximilian off to what he thinks is a lowly common knight. The common knight leaves for war for 3 years after Max and his wedding night, and he returns a war hero who is offered the hand of the princess. He's a shouty man. I feel like a lot of the intention in Under the Oak Tree is meant to be read as romantic, but in the same way that like some cliche bodice rippers are, in the fact that they are just more aggressive. Let's use that word, aggressive. I mean,
did you hit it off with another bastard while I was fighting to death?
No, I didn't.
I think it's supposed to be extremely romantic, but he's shouty and he's angry and he said shut up to her, which is like, yeah, he can be sweet, but shouty men, no thank you. No thank you to shouty men. Anyways, the plot goes that Max and the shouty man, whose name is Riften, are married and after 3 years are reunited. Riften wants to whisk away Max to his castle fiefdom area, where she then has to take on the responsibility of being the lady of the land, learning how to order things and take care of her people through the winter and so forth, restoring the castle, managing the money, dealing with Riften coming and going as he is needed by the kingdom. He also fought a dragon with a magic war princess, which honestly sounds a lot more interesting than whatever's ever going on with Max. So I would give the plot a 6 out of 10. It's interesting to see Max handle things, and as a character, I do find her deeply sympathetic. But like, I want to see the Magic War Princess. You shouldn't have given me a more interesting character if you were not going to explore her. The pacing is so slow. I too feel like I am waiting for my husband to return from war after 3 years. It is worse because it stresses me out. Like, I love a slow burn. I love to see the things build up in a story and then just explode and go crazy. I live for that. I live for a good slow burn, but this isn't good. There's a part where Max is getting ready so they can set off, and they're waiting, and the sun's setting lower in the sky, and where's Max? She can't get her dress on, and I'm sitting there going, you are going to be so late. This is stressing me out. What is the reason for this? I can feel myself actively getting older, stressing about this. I'm already the age of an elder god. Don't do this to me. 4 out of 10. If I were to rate these characters, both Riften and Max, I would say win the I need to go to therapy award. Max is so damaged by her dad, she has developed a stutter and second guesses every single thing she says, which can be really hard to read at times, and sometimes you just want to shake her and go, girl. And Riften is just shouty, and when you put shouty next to anxiety ball, you're just like, how's this marriage gonna work out? What are you doing? There's no other female characters, really, aside from Max's maid. There's the mentioned war princess, and you're aware that Max's have a sister, but none really make an appearance, and I really hope they do further along in the comic. I feel like that'd be interesting to see. I do, however, like Ruth. He enjoys naps and books, which, like saying, 6 out of 10. Setting. To give you an idea of the setting, I would say Winterfell and Game of Thrones, like, same. Vaguely high fantasy, vaguely European, that's it. They give some semblance of world building. Yes, there's dragons. Yes, there's that magical war princess that I want to see. I mean, it's okay. Again, 6 out of 10. I think the art for this webcomic is probably the best out of the bunch I was giving. And I say this thinking a lot of them are so deeply beautiful, but this particular webcomic has a filter or some sort of effect over the art that makes it look like it is painted on canvas, which I think is a nice touch. It feels like a medieval story almost that you're looking through on gallery paintings or something, or tapestry. I don't know if that was intentional, but I really like it. So I'll give it a 10 out of 10 for that. And guys, now here's the final score. Moving on. Kill a Villainess is next. This is the first one that presents the framing device of a woman who wakes up in a novel that she was reading. With these said comics, there's a difference between the character they are inhabiting and the women themselves. However, this particular woman is not named, so we shall name her Quaker Oats, after my rabbit's favorite food. So what Quaker Oats knows about this story is
that Eris is the villainess and also the woman whose body she's inhabiting.
The female lead of this story is Helena, who through Quaker Oats' own eyes we see sort of a one-dimensional character. She is just a lowly commoner, but through her kind nature and smile and just general friendliness, everyone loves her. Oh gee golly gosh, how could they not? So now we're getting to the plot. Quaker Oats is now Eris.
So Quaker Oats thinks the quickest way to get back to her world, our world, would be through death. I have already tried everything I could think of to return to the world I used to live in. Truly, everything. Jumping from a high place, looking for and ingesting poison used to assassinate political rivals. I've even tried using a knife. To return home, I've tried countless methods. However, this world's law of causality does not allow Eris to escape from a destined story. If I jump, the stable worker catches me. If I take a large amount of strong poison, it acts as sleeping pills. when I used a knife. Doctor, please save Our Lady. An unidentified attacker stabbed Our Lady and ran away. One time I really did face a dangerous stranger, but even then the plot of the story unfolded without any hitch. How absurd. I'm certain I really did get hurt. If it hadn't hurt so much, I wouldn't feel this resentful. Whenever I try to return home, supernatural phenomenon arise, making all my efforts in vain.
What I like about this one is that Quaker Oats and Eris are distinctly different people. Enough so that the people closest to Eris have noticed that some of her habits have disappeared, particularly Emma, Eris's maid. Emma is fully aware that someone else is in Eris's body. To make matters worse, she is engaged to the prince, who is the male lead of the book she's in. The male lead who falls in love with Helena, the commoner. Her fiancé, Eris's fiancé, does not enjoy Eris at all. It is a political alliance, so the book kind of forces Eris, Quaker Oats, into the villain role. Such when Helena decides to surprise Eris. Quaker Oats, as Eris, has no idea what's going on, just sees someone surprising her, assumes the worst, and pushes what she assumed was an attacker over. Turns out it's Helena, and once the prince sees a bruise on Helena and knows that Eris caused it, he says, and I quote, "You hurt my belonging, so I can hurt you." Nothing makes a lady swoon more than being referred to as a belonging. The author of this webcomic does a very good job of making the prince unlikable. So he slaps Eris. And at home, as they're treating her wounds, her maids are like, "Oh, Eris, aren't you gonna go yell at Helena for making you look bad in front of the prince?" And she's like, "Why would I be mad at Helena? The prince is the one who hit me." But, as in the role in the novel, she has to give the prince a present the next day, much to her dismay. Slowly, Quaker Oats is getting more and more resentful of her role as the villain, that she is supposed to be madly in love with this prince who is just a total prick. She freaks out, runs away, and finds herself in the house of a man who makes his opinions about the nobles very clear. He is also a nameless character in the novel. The second time someone she's met is not in the original novel, expanding her world a little. And that's where I left off reading, so you're free to read more if you like. I did not spoil a lot, just enough to get you hooked, hopefully. I don't know your life. So as far as the plot goes, I really like it. I think it's original, aside from the fact that the framing device of someone else in, a storybook novel is not original in that aspect. Anyways, 8 out of 10, I like it. Pacing is very, very good. I think it is quick. A lot happens. I am intrigued. The only thing I don't like about it is, we get to a point in the story and then we reverse to see it from someone else's point of view. So I'll take a point off for that, 9 out of 10. Characters. I think Quaker Oats is hilarious. She makes it very clear that she sees the people around her as fictional because they're in a book. There's one point where one of Helena's many admirers is in a carriage with Eris / Quaker Oats, and he is telling her about why he returned to the city. As far as Quaker Oats knows from reading the book, he returned because he missed Helena, but he actually has more depth. He was prophesied to kill a dragon by an oracle, so he went out and he killed the dragon. But the dragon's like, "Hey, I'm glad you're here. I sent that message to the oracle that you should come and kill me, and now you're here." And Jason's like, "Well, I am going to kill you now, I guess." Anyways, the whole thing pretty much messed him up. And Quaker Oats, as Eris, is sitting there going, "Well, that's interesting. I think he wants me to feel bad for him. I don't, but it's interesting."
It was a good story, but I didn't exactly have sympathy.
I like her a lot. I think she's very unique. I also think that is worth mentioning that this is literally the only webcomic of the bunch that actually has a person of color. I'm aware that these comics are all Asian origin and they may have different ideas about diversity there, but also the bar set so low. It's so low. Diversity is important and I just thought it was worth mentioning. Anyways, 10 out of 10. So the setting for this is vaguely European. They make notes of dragon, there's knights, there's snakes. There's the things you expect in a vaguely European setting. There is some mention of world building, like, there's a political struggle, as there often are in this sort of setting. There's also the mention of people with magic are banished unless that magic is divine in nature, which is something totally different. Ironically, this country developed magic tech, and yet condemned magicians because their powers didn't come from the god the country worshipped. It seems you do not yet know the difference between magic and divinity. Divinity is the study of creation, while magic is the study of anomalies. I mean, it's not the most original. It's not. Especially for this particular set of comics. So, sorry, 4 out of 10. The art. The art is so beautiful. Some of these characters, the ones I suspect have magic, have such vivid eyes. A lot of I can tell they take a lot of photos and just add a effect over it to make them look more like a drawing. And that doesn't bother me. Backgrounds are hard, but they're complex and they're pretty, and I really do like the art in this, particularly Eris. Eris has a lot of beautiful panels where she's looking just absolutely gorgeous. I love the art. 9 out of 10, and here is my final rating. So, this next one, this is Sparkling Water. This next one is titled The Naughty Exorcist and His Captive Demon, and I read this and thought, oh, he's some sort of mischievous man. They're gonna need each other for some reason, and that's why he captured her, to help him with something, and they're eventually just gonna fall in love. They're bound together, and that's why they're gonna fall in love. They're gonna, save Japan or something. No, this is a corn comic, but with a... So that all... I'm already uncomfortable, and then, on top of that, there's, consent issues in this, which is, no thank you. I only have so many hours of life despite my status as an elder god. I am not wasting my time on something like that. I am not reviewing something like that on this YouTube channel, no. So, luckily, Mark Zoidberg knew I was in need of another webcomic, and as I was scrolling Facebook, he recommended another one to me. So here we are with the comic that I've seen titled both I Got Proposed to by a Villain, or alternatively, I Married a Villain. Either way, it's about a lady who sees a dude murder another man and then proposes to her. I thought, out of this bunch, that's a little bit original. It is not. It is, she read about that in a book and then was in, that lady's body. So anyways, here's the plot. An unnamed woman, who we shall call Taffadilladile, after a non-playable character in my D&D campaign, read a book. And in the book, the plot is as follows. A woman whose name is so boring I promptly forgot it after reading it. It's Regina Blois. I know all of you are expecting George. Be more original. So Regina Blois witnessed a duke commit a murder. He's aware that she committed the murder, so he, can't have any witnesses, though he murders her too, which prompts the main character of the book to investigate her death. Isota, or I've seen it with a T and a D in this translation. Anyways, Isoda investigates the murder of her best friend, leading to a love triangle between the man who murdered her best friend and the emperor who gave the order. I wonder how that works out. So, Taffadillo, knowing that she's going to be murdered by the Duke, whose name is Arson. I was originally calling him Arsgene, which is funny, but obviously the name Arson is pretty metal. I looked it up. It's Arson. So she avoids Arson, but she accidentally stumbles upon the murder scene anyways, and Arson is totally aware of this. When people suspect that Arson is indeed the killer, she covers for him.
I'm sure the Duke was still at the jeweler's, right?
She hopes this will save her own skin, but Arson keeps poking at her like a cat pokes at a mouse. Anyways, he eventually corners her alone, and to no one's surprise, because we know the name of this webcomic, he proposes and lets her know that is in her own best interest to marry him. I like the plot well enough, but I'm taking points off because it does not seem like Taffadillo has any concern about suddenly being thrust into someone else's body, which is weird. 8 out of 10. The pacing for this is so quick. In fact, this is the one that I read the least of, but I have the most screenshots for because it seemed that everything in this comic was worth mentioning. Everything that someone does, you see the other characters react to, it moves the plot forward, it's great. For example, there is a point to mess with her. Arson sends Taffadillo as Regina a necklace. We see her brother react to it. We see her friends react to it. We see that he gave it to her because it confirms the alibi that she provided for him. Yes, he was out buying jewelry. No, he did not murder that man that he totally actually did murder. I like the pacing. It's good. It's good pacing. 10 out of 10.
Characters.
Yeah, she's smart, but there's nothing really special about Taffadillo. She's your stock, main character that you'd see basically anywhere. Sort of bland. I will say, however, that being said, I like Arson. When he's proposing to her and she's like, dude, why are you proposing to me? He says this.
I love you, apparently.
Maybe it's all the shouty men I've read in these comics, but he's genuinely very just matter of fact, nonchalant about everything. It's funny. I think he's funny. I also like Kaj, who is just, the standard male best friend, though I probably just like him because he's not shouty either. Isoda, who is, Regina, and I guess now Taffadillo's best friend, is very easily read as queer. Like, her reaction to Arson giving Regina a necklace is, I need to get you a necklace too. Adorable. We love to see it. So that's cute. 7 out of 10. The setting, again, is vaguely European, though I feel that this one is a little bit more French-leaning. You can't put it in a distinct time period. No, you cannot. Like this dress and this dress, 2 different eras, if they were to be historic. It is fantasy, but, we get a little bit of a political system, Empress Dowager, evil emperor, and I don't know if there's magic in this comic. Like, at one point there's, like, a black cat, but later we see a panther. But I don't know if they're 2 separate things. I'm confused. Because of that, I'm giving it a 2 out of 10. Art. To me, it reminds me of early 90s anime. Like, it's cute, it's very middle of the road. I love the design of Sally the Maid, but again, the art's not bad, the art's not good, it's the middle of the road, so it deserves a middle of the road score, 5 out of 10. And here's this comic's final rating. So our final comic is the Tyrant's Only Perfumer. And big surprise, this one's about a lady who read a novel and is now in that novel as both a villainess and a character who is promptly killed off in the beginning. Like, they took the plots of these other 2 and mashed them together. So you're not only dead at the beginning, but also a villain. So the plot is like this. Prior to our main character falling into said body, of the villain / dead lady is that there's a woman named Ariel Winston. She threatened Cedric into dating her in return for supplying him with perfume. The perfume keeps him from going mad. It's distilled from this extremely rare flower that happened to bloom after the demons were sealed away forever. But because he's not dating her out of his own choice, he falls in love with someone else. Ariel and Cedric's relationship is only a sham, so he falls in love with someone else. Ariel gets jealous and attempts to poison that woman. She gets caught and is promptly killed. The woman who falls into her body, who is now named Katrina after my little puppy here. It was either going to be that or it was going to be Dreska after my dress form. You're getting a pun name either way. So Katrina, again named after my mug, is aware of this, though she did not finish the story because when she was in the middle of the book, she lost her eyesight and then died. So the plot goes, knowing that Ariel is destined to die, she continues down the road she's on. She breaks up with Cedric. She does have other aspirations, though. In life, when she was alive, Katrina wanted to be a perfumer, but lost her scent. That was the first sign that she was sick. But now that she's given a second chance at life, she's going to become a perfumer and open up a shop. The rest of the plot deals with her struggles and reasons that Cedric's still in her life. I find it very odd that Cedric's still in her life. I mean, if someone is blackmailing you into a relationship and they suddenly just end it, are you going to be like, well, thank God that's over? Or are you going to invest in her business? That just seems weird. 9 out of 10. There's a lot going on. I like it. A lot happens at a decent pace in this comic. I do feel that sometimes it can be a little bit repetitive. Katrina, as Ariel, breaks up with Cedric. She goes home, and her dad's like, hey, you're disgracing the family's name by continuing to parade around with Cedric, even though he clearly doesn't like you. And she's like, oh, don't worry, I broke up with him. And then she goes out shopping for flowers, and some socialites are like, hey, aren't you embarrassed forcing Cedric to date you even though he has no interest in you? And she's like, don't worry, I broke up with him. We get it, girl. You ended the relationship. Why do we need to see it that many times? It can be repetitive. And for that reason, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. So characters. I do like Katrina. It's interesting to know that she's super into perfumes. Other than that, I couldn't tell you much. She's nice. She doesn't want to die. Again, that's it. The other characters are pretty one-dimensional. They're likable characters. I mean, I'm pretty sure Cedric can be a little bit of a shouty man, but not like a wee bit shouty man. And I'm still not sure why you'd want to spend time around someone blackmailing you, but like 5 out of 10. I at least like them, which is more than I can say about other ones. Guess what the setting is? Yes, it's a vaguely European setting in a high fantasy world. And I'm gonna put like loose quotes around high fantasy. And yeah, there's demons, and yeah, if Cedric doesn't get his perfume, he's gonna go off on some sort of murderous rampage. But I really don't know what's up with that. I hope they explore that more. I'm actually kind of interested to see what would happen if they introduced the love interest that stole him away from Ariel, but I'm not that far in the comic. Or even if she's gonna show up. I hope she does, that'd be interesting. But we're talking about the setting, which is not that original. It's beautiful. It's very beautiful. It's a very castle town. You know, like there's a castle in the town. But that's it. 5 out of 10, I guess. And then there's the art for this comic. It has no reason to be as beautiful as, it is beautiful. For like no reason. Look at this panel. This panel is of soap. Why is this soap so pretty? There's like beautiful colors, such beautiful expressive faces in this. Such flowers, just a lot of flowers. So beautiful. The perfume vials are all unique and distinct. I like it. I mean, the art in this is so beautiful. I kind of want to take a couple of the panels, print them out, and hang them on my wall. They're that pretty. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Gorgeous art. And the final story for this comic is this right here. So I examined 6 comics that this man recommended to me, and out of those, I would say I really liked 3 of them. 3. That's a 50% mark. You're stealing my data and using it to advertise me, and you can only advertise to me 3 things that I actually liked, and those 3 things all have the same plot, framing device, setting, whatever. Just Mark, you can do better. You probably shouldn't be doing any of that, but if you're going to do it anyways, do it better. Stay away from my data. Stay away from my data. Stay away, Mark. Bad Zoidberg. Yeah, so that's the video. So I did work really hard on this video, so feel free to subscribe or like it, or comment down below and tell me what you do if you suddenly woke up in the body of a villainess from a novel you were reading. What would you do? Would you make good choices? Would you just not make good choices? I don't know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.